Why do you think it's going to be a problem coming 2026, 2027 and not 2025?
There's really going to be a divide between the people who got onto AI and used AI and get comfortable with how AI fits into their business, and those who didn't.
From experience, I tried to push thinking more people was a better solution, and I realized that we actually want less people but better people.
TikTok is like crack cocaine for the brain. It's you are just ramming dopamine down.
A lot of people who are listening to this who are not in the digital world, would you say it's too late for them to jump into that? Today we have an awesome guest who's with us, Daniel Priestley. Daniel has a huge plethora of experience in the business world, massive in terms of from a marketing perspective, runs 8 companies, he's an author, and has a complete wisdom of knowledge he's going to run us through in terms of marketing, AI, and the latest updates running into 2025. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today in Dubai.
It's awesome. So good to be here.
First thing I want to ask you is, coming into 2025, how important of a role do you think AI is going to play in terms of marketing and in terms of marketing going forwards generally?
Okay, so the AI thing is, big picture, AI is a game changer. There's no question. It's like electricity or smartphones, any of those technologies that were massive movements or have been massive movements, social media, for example. But if you think about, say, social media, there's a couple of years there where it just doesn't feel like it's super important. But then there's a tipping point where it's like, if you're not doing it, you know, you're really behind the game. So I think we're still kind of in that zone of it's an important tool, it's a useful tool, you should be using it, but you're not going to get crushed in 2025 for not using it. But 2026, 2027, there's really going to be a divide between the people who got onto AI and used AI and get comfortable with how AI fits into their business, and those who didn't. So we've all got to find a balance. Most people are not finding a good balance at the moment. So for example, I get just every time I post on LinkedIn, I get all these automated AI responses that I can just immediately see their AI generated responses. You know, I see people posting AI generated content and you can just glance at it and you know it's AI generated content. It's not in their voice. So to me, you know, they're trying to use AI and good, you know, I'm glad they are. But they haven't found the right balance with it. And that's kind of where we are right now. Everyone's just figuring out, where does this fit into my business? How do I use it? And that's a good place to be for 2025. That's where you should be benchmarking yourself. You should say, am I just getting myself comfortable with it?
Why do you think it's going to be a problem coming 2026, 2027 and not 2025?
Because right now, this is the worst it's going to be in the rest of our lives. So as bad as it is, all of its flaws right now, this is the worst it will be. And in a year from now, it's going to be twice as good. 2 years from now, it's going to be twice as good as that. So it's doubling every year in how good it is. Things just take time. Things take time. So we think about smartphones as taking over our lives, you know, in the 2010s, but they were launched in 2007 in a big way. We think about internet, you know, kind of being a 2000s and 2010 kind of phenomenon, but it was actually like in the 90s. So there is just an adoption time. There's a momentum that society has built in where things just continue to work longer than they should. You know, even into the 2000s, I was picking up clients using fax broadcasting. Fax broadcasting was a thing. And it kind of worked right through till 2005, 2006. You could fax someone. You could fax them a thing. You could send out physical brochures. You could go to physical meetups and events. So there are things that continue to work longer than they should. You know, they've hit maturity and they just don't disappear overnight. And then there are things that kind of hit that S-curve, which is where AI is now, and they creep up on you. And it's very, very hard to catch up once it really tips and it's away.
Do you think AI can replace marketers entirely?
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to have, previously you would have had an agency with 30 or 40 talented people and then maybe 40 or 50 support people. And now, you know, you've got an agency of 80 or 90 people headcount. AI is going to make 10 really talented people essentially as effective as that 80 or 90 person agency. So it's not so much that AI is roaming around doing stuff on its own. It's just super leveraging those people who are very good at what they do. So a very talented person, you mentioned before I've got 8 different companies. How do I have 8 companies? Because I leverage a lot of tech. Because I've got the right software, because I've got playbooks and I've got media and content and all of that sort of stuff, I'm leveraging technology in a way that's fairly modern, fairly new, and it's pretty easy for me to have, 8 companies. Each company's got 30 to 60 people, and we just kind of we just execute the playbook and away we go. So without that tech, I couldn't do it. With the tech, I can do it. It's going to be the same with AI. So I don't think AI is going to steal anyone's job. I think someone who's very good at using AI will steal a lot of people's jobs as they just become very highly effective.